and we believe we're done with selfish intent.
What a pathetic bit.
Well guys, we're back. We are back one more time to talk about a YouTube situation that I have been following pretty closely over these last few weeks. And ladies and gentlemen, it just got juicier. So a little over a month ago, I made a video on the situation involving the Completionist, Some Ordinary Gamers, and Carl Jobst, where Mudahar from Some Ordinary Gamers and Carl Jobst accused the Completionist and his charity of committing charity fraud. Ever since Carl and Mudahar released their videos, it's been a pretty big ordeal across the internet, with all three parties making responses and follow-up videos regarding this situation. If you have no idea whatsoever what I'm talking about, I'll try to give you a very brief rundown of what's happened over the last month or so, but I would highly recommend that you go give Carl and Mudahar's videos a watch, and then once you've done that, I would even say go give the Completionist response a watch, because there's a whole lot of information here, and I have watched every single minute of every video pertaining to this situation. I've seen every single one of Carl Jobst's videos anyways, so this was right up my alley, and I've gotten pretty invested, I must say. With all of that being said, I will now try and give you a sub 1 minute briefing of about 3 hours worth of information. About 5 weeks ago, Carl Jobst and Some Ordinary Gamers, aka Mudahar, made videos calling out the Completionist, aka Gerard Khalil, and his charity, the Open Hand Foundation, for scamming their donators and committing charity fraud. After Carl and Mudahar went through the Open Hand Foundation's public tax filings, they found that none of the money that it had raised since its inception had been donated. And not only that, also some of the money the organization should have had was missing. The Open Hand Foundation's filings showed that they had raised over $600,000 from an event called Indieland, an indie game spotlight event that Gerard had made for raising money for this charity. Carl and Mudahar found that despite Gerard claiming that all of this money was going to dementia research, even going as far to name certain organizations that the charity was working with, that not a single penny that had been raised was donated yet, and it was all just sitting and being used for what was being filed as operating expenses. A few weeks after all of this came out, Gerard released a response video full of legalese and a half-baked apology, where at the end he threatened to sue Carl and Mudahar for slander. Carl and Mudahar responded to this by dissecting Gerard's quote apology, pretty effectively dismissing every single thing Gerard tried to use as a defense, and then subsequently tearing him a new one. That is a very rough timeline of what's happened so far. Like I said, if you haven't seen the original videos on this situation, you're missing out on a whole lot. Carl and Mudahar pretty obviously put their nose to the grindstone and did their research for this stuff. Seriously, go give those videos a watch. What we're going to be talking about today is some leaked audio that came from Carl, Gerard's, and Mudahar's Discord call, where it appears that before all of this went public, Gerard was attempting to bribe Carl and Mudahar into not releasing these videos. While these videos were being made, Carl and Mudahar got onto a Discord call with Gerard, where they talked about stuff like what happened, did you know this was going on, where did you think the money was going, did you know the money wasn't going anywhere, and all of this was included in the original videos. However, these were only snippets from a much longer full Discord call, which to my knowledge has not fully been released yet. However, a couple of days ago, Carl released this part of the Discord call into his Discord, where the Completionist is making some interesting insinuations.
The last thing I want to do is ruin the legacy of my family, of my mom and her memory, especially because this is such a personal thing for the last 25 years of my life.
To me, this is such a weird thing to say when you're in this kind of position. You've been holding on to donations that you promised would go towards dementia research for the last 10 years, and now, suddenly, once you've been caught, now you're worried about ruining the legacy of your mother? To me, and I don't know, this might just be me and my crazy self, I feel like if you really wanted to do right by your mother, you would have, just donated the money to dementia research in the beginning. But that's just me.
I'm not trying to be like, do you guys want money to help me hide this? It's not what this is at all.
And there we have it, what I think might just be the thinnest of thinly veiled bribes ever offered. Now look, I'm not claiming that Gerard was doing anything here for certain, but it seems like, based off the way he said this, it really feels like this was his way of being like, hey guys, there's another option here. I've seen some people on Twitter try and defend this by saying stuff like he didn't say anything directly, maybe he was just trying to cover himself from them perceiving what he was about to say as a bribe, and things of that nature, and I don't buy it. Firstly, bribes are very rarely presented like, hey, I'm gonna give you money to do this. Normally, it's unspoken. Secondly, there's absolutely no reason for him to say this other than to put the idea in their mind that they could get some money out of this, because nothing he's going to say aside from this is insinuating a bribe. I can understand that if you haven't heard what comes after this, then you might think he was saying this in order for what he says after this to not be perceived as a bribe. No, that's not what's happening here, because nothing else that he's gonna say sounds like this. Have you ever had a friend that refuses to get a job, and when you go out to do stuff, they don't have money for anything, and they never straight up ask you for money, but they say stuff like, oh man, I'm really hungry, but I can't afford anything right now, or man, I love this shirt, but I don't think I'd ever have the money for it. I feel like this is what Gerard is doing. I feel like it's very obvious in conversation what he's insinuating by bringing this up, but he's saying it in such a way that you can't prove that he meant anything.
I'm just asking from a humanity perspective of, like, if I am the target of this, I have 20 mouths to feed. I have sponsors. I have a business. I'm trying to make video games. I'm trying to get out of content creation so I don't have to worry about YouTube anymore and do better things in the world. And I just know, because of my track record of things like G4 exploding, me being friends with JonTron when he was a racist, I've been a part of, like, Pro Jared, like, pulling one thread about the charity thing is going to upheave my entire life in a way that scares the living crap out of me.
So why do it in the first place? Honestly, I wonder if Gerard was even fully aware this call was being recorded. I feel like these guys would have definitely told him, but the difference in his attitude and his story from this call and his response video is insane. It's night and day. It's like it's not even the same person talking. During this call, it's like a kid who just got caught for stealing candy. He knows he shouldn't have done it. He knows he's in trouble, and he's like begging these guys to not ruin his life. It seems that he's fully aware of how bad this looks, and it doesn't even seem like he's denying any of it, hence him basically trying to bribe them to not go public with it. And then you get to his video response, and suddenly it's like he's never done a single thing wrong. The charity is the best charity ever made. He's puffing out his chest saying what these guys are saying is slanderous. They're arbiters of evil. They're trying to bring him down. All while a couple of weeks before on this Discord call, he's saying he's terrified and he knows what he did is about to upheave his life. It makes no sense.
And I don't want to go home tonight and tell everyone, hey, there is a gigantic thing coming to claim my career, and you all have to close down and find somewhere else to do. I know this is shitty me to say this. I'm not trying to ask for sympathy or anything, but this kind of stuff, I mean, I've been following your guys' stuff for years. The stuff with Billy Mitchell, Carl, the stuff that you've done, Muto, with tons of content creators over the years. Like, there's no nuance to this. People are going to see this, and they're going to immediately go, that Gerard guy who's been nice to a bunch of people actually isn't very nice overall. Let's get rid of him.
This whole thing is just so strange to me. Like I was saying, in this Discord call, he seems 100% on board with acknowledging that he knows what he's done. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. The charity was not donating. He was misleading people. He knows it looks terrible because it is terrible. He knows what's coming. I honestly think he would have had a chance of being accepted back if he made a video saying, look guys, I misled you. I did this, this, and this. This is why we weren't actually donating the money. We messed up. Please forgive us, give us the chance to show you we can do right moving forward. I think maybe some people would have forgiven him. So why he took the route of the response that he did, I have no idea. Because once again, he is clearly acknowledging what they're saying is true. He's not like, what? What are you guys talking about? Where are you getting this information? He's acknowledging that it's true, and if people find out about it, his career is over. So did he think that if he made a dramatic enough video where he took an acting class or two, and then responded to all this saying it was fake, that people would just take it at face value? That people would just completely forget all the evidence presented to them? The way he's handled this is just so strange to me that I can't understand it. That's where what's been released of the Discord call ends, and I've gotta say, this does not look good for Mr. Gerard. Could this be a bit of a misunderstanding and he was just caught off guard and was not ready to answer these questions? Maybe. I'm not saying we should take everything this guy said during this call super seriously, because he probably was pretty blindsided and might have been saying some stuff he didn't mean, but at the same same time, I think what he said during this call is probably a lot more genuine than what he said during his response. What he said during his response was very obviously written for him by a team of lawyers. What he said during this call is pretty obviously what he was thinking when he realized he was caught. I'm curious to see if the full call ends up getting released because I'd like to see where this was said in the conversation. Maybe given the full context of the entire conversation, what he said might make more sense, or it might just further point to him trying to throw himself a lifesaver here and put the possibility of a bribe on the table. I don't know. Well, guys, what are your thoughts? What do you think about this entire situation if you've been following it? If you haven't been following it, like I said, I really recommend you give these videos a watch. This is a really good example of why you should try not to form parasocial relationships with a creator and take everything they say at face value. These people are not your friends. And with charity streams and stuff like this getting more and more popular on YouTube, you really need to do your research and find out exactly where your money is really going. It might not be where you think. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and walk on over to that subscribe button and touch it. It's free. It won't cost you anything. But for now, that's all I have for you today. Bye.